Speaking of local adventurer T.A. Loeffler, Chrissy managed to track her down yesterday. So where is she these days with her WaterLily and cell phone?
Well, Fred, she's pretty much in the perfect place to test this device. Okay, to place her, I just want you to draw a picture in your mind of the map of Canada. Now look way up. See the Northwest Territories there, stacked right on top of Alberta? Right in the middle. She's there on the Mackenzie River. Like basically in the middle of nowhere in extreme adventure mode. So she and fellow adventurer Marion Wissink left Jasper, Alberta in a canoe back in May, and they started paddling up north, headed for the Arctic Ocean. They're hoping to complete the 3,400 kilometer paddle sometime in August. Now, Fred, on top of paddling and, surviving, TA has been nonstop blogging about her adventure. And one of the big reasons she says she's been able to stay connected is because of that invention, the WaterLily. So I was lucky enough to reach her in a service area yesterday. And I started out our conversation by asking her how the WaterLily is working out.
It's been great. Yeah, we, especially on the Athabasca and Slave Rivers, we were able to put it into the current and use it to charge our devices. We've been using the combination of the WaterLily, and we also are taking a solar panel. So depending on the circumstances, the day, where we are, what the weather's doing, we've used one or the other.
Communication is one thing, but the grueling task of actually paddling that distance is another. How are you holding up, TA?
Well, it's funny. We've had a pretty tough last 6 days with a bunch of wind and thunderstorms. This is day 63 that we've been out and feeling a little bit tired these days. Putting up with, trying to keep ourselves safe and trying to make the distances that we need to make. It's being a little bit grueling at the moment, but for the most part, we've been having a fabulous expedition.
What made you want to canoe from Jasper, Alberta to the Arctic Ocean?
Well, I get these ideas. You know me. Well, originally I had gotten the idea that I wanted to paddle the Mackenzie or the Decho, the big river, and then we said, well, we've got a little bit extra time. Why not pull it south and start on the Athabasca and the Slave and the Rivière des Roches and just see if we can put it all together. And it's been an amazing journey thus far.
I wonder if you can put us in the canoe there with you and Marion and tell us what some of the highlights of the trip have been so far.
Well, one of the things about being this far north in Canada is we have almost 24 hours of sunlight. We haven't quite reached 66 degrees latitude. That should be in a few days, but we're sitting here at just over 64 and a half, and the sun goes down at midnight 30 and comes up at 4:30, so there's almost constant light. So on a few days we've had to paddle at night, but it's not in the dark. So you get this beautiful sunset light for hours on end. Usually we're paddling then because it's still and you've got this magic dance of light. We've also seen quite a bit of wildlife. We've seen some wolves and some bears, and some moose, and lots of different kinds of birds. We had 5 sandhill cranes fly over us yesterday. We've seen thousands and thousands of Canadian geese. So we've had a really interesting combination on this trip of traveling through some of the most remote parts of Canada, but then also paying visits to towns and villages that are along the watercourse.
How are people reacting when they meet you and you tell them what it is you're aiming to do?
It's been quite fun on occasion when people come up and have a chat with us and say, well, where did you paddle from? And when we tell them Jasper, they get a very surprised look on their face. And when we tell them where we're trying to get to, then that surprise is somewhat doubled. And usually, just like in Newfoundland and Labrador, folks here are very friendly. They go out of their way to be helpful. We have lots of wonderful stories of people meeting us and helping us out, helping us get supplies or moved around an area of rapids and things. So it's just been this really amazing combination of adventure and remoteness and being out on the edge on sometimes, and then just being moved by people's kindness.
Do you ever get afraid?
Oh, you bet. These last few days, I don't know if it's just been particular weather patterns or if we're getting into that time of year but we have sat each day, the last 3 days, we've had to sort of get off the river really quickly, set up our tarp, and sit out thunderstorms. And we don't get that many electrical storms in St. John's anyway. I did growing up. I grew up actually in Edmonton, Alberta, so it's a little bit like being close to home, and we used to have thunderstorms every day, but it's different when you can't be in your house or in your car, and you're just sort of sitting under this small piece of nylon, and it's booming and crashing, and lightning's going, and you're sitting on your tiny piece of foam, and you're in the lightning position, and so that's definitely been scary at times. Seeing how quickly the weather can shift around. We had a situation a few days ago where the wind just seemed to come out of nowhere, and the river went from sort of glassy calm to whipped up into a tempest, and it sort of went from steely blue to jade green and white caps, and so just how quickly things can change up here. So we have to be on our game. We have to be thinking and just sort of keeping within our risk tolerance.
Why is it important for you to share this experience with everybody else online?
Well, I think all along with all of my expeditions, I've wanted folks to be inspired to have their own big dreams and their own big goals, and to go and do those things that move them. It might not be canoeing or climbing mountains. It might be taking photographs or making music or writing poetry. And what folks have told me is when I share these wonderful, crazy, extreme adventures that I do, that they're inspired to do that. And I also like to encourage people to get outdoors, and by showing folks that if I can go out and live out here for what's going to be almost 90 days or more than 90 days, then hopefully they can go out to the local park and go for a walk on a trail. And being outside is so good, I think, for both our physical and our mental health, that I really hope that folks are excited to get out there and do what moves them.
I know you're aiming to complete this trip mid-August. Where are you in your timeline right now?
We are spot on perfect, just sort of holding steady. Our goal on this trip was to paddle 40 kilometers per day. We need to average 40 kilometers a day. So just sort of to put that in perspective, a running marathon is 42 kilometers. So basically we are paddling a marathon every day. And up here on the Mackenzie, some days that's quite easy to do. The other day we paddled 105 kilometers. That was our record. And other days with wind or with a sluggish current, we struggle and have to work really hard to get 20. So staying on that pace has been a good challenge. Hopefully we will hit the Arctic Ocean right around August 10th or so.
What are you going to do when you get there?
I think we will clap paddles.
So clap paddles is kind of like the high five for canoers?
It's definitely like a high five for canoers. We've done it on many of our celebratory spots. And then if we've made it to the Arctic Ocean, then we'll have a couple of days of ocean paddling on the ocean to get to Tuktoyaktuk.
So you're going to take the Northwest Passage home, or?
Oh my goodness, I would love to take the Northwest Passage home, but I have a conference to be at in Wales on August 28th, so I think we might run a little short on time. But I'll have to save that one for another day.
TA, thank you so much for speaking with us and keeping us up to date on everything you're up to.
Well, you're more than welcome. Thanks so much for calling.
That was Arctic paddler, mountain climber, and general adventure ninja T.A. Loeffler speaking with us from the Mackenzie River in the middle of the Northwest Territories. And if you're curious and you want to see some of the pictures from her adventures, you can always follow her on Twitter, or you can follow along with her blog, which she posts on her website at taloeffler.com.
Well, beat out just listening to her.
I know.
Is she paddling upstream or downstream?
She says, fortunately, it's mostly been downstream, but given the width of the river, she says the Mackenzie's very wide and there's little eddies. So sometimes it feels like she's paddling upstream when they're actually paddling downstream because the current changes and... Yeah.
And that chat, of course, made possible by a cell phone charger device that was made right here, the WaterLily.
Amazing.
Yeah, we did the math on that. It's about 3 pounds extra in the backpack. But I guess if you're going on something like that, you got to have, there are certain things you need.
No, and it sounds like she is really enjoying that.
For more CBC podcasts, go to cbc.ca/podcasts.